Hello again for my 7th recording tonight. This is video 5 of this new series of the industry of Tir Tairngire Eco-Village. I, of course, am your friendly neighborhood Green Party rep for Humber St. Barb Baybert, Robin Gosse. Now, animal husbandry. This is indeed a farm, and as much as a number of Green Party volunteers that I've spoken with in the past would want to argue, we don't need to be vegetarians. In fact, the food chain tells us different. There are certain benefits to having a relationship with animals that include eating them. Not the only solution. There are, of course, always alternatives. It's kind of the moral of our story here. But we want to include the option of a carnivorous supplement to a vegetarian diet, though we will have options of vegetarianism as well. So, animal husbandry. As mentioned in a previous video, we intend to have rabbits, goats, sheep, chickens, turkeys, and an ox. The problem here is animals require a lot of land for grazing, and the droppings can produce worms and lead to all kinds of frustration. And yes, you know who you are in the Green Party who gave me grief for eating meat. It will be easier, I guess, to have an all-vegetarian community, but we want fiber. And yes, you can use bamboo fiber and soy fiber and a bunch of other stuff. Animals just make the whole thing complete. Don't like them? Don't eat them. No sweat. The animal husbandry section will, of course, work with the weavers and work with the healers. There are, of course, healing properties in animal milk and in using the fibers to create bandages and that kind of thing. And then there are, of course, fibrous tissue from the animals, their fur, their hair, or whatever, that can be used towards that industry, as well as the brute force labor available from an oxen, castrated male bovine. Difficult to castrate a female bovine. But consider this for a second. Take the idea, once again, of our homeless solution. Psychologically speaking, senior citizens who are subjected to living in old folks' homes, seniors complexes, whatever you want to call them, live longer and happier if they're given a plant to tend to, something to prove that they have control over something of their lives rather than the regimental, you will eat this at this time. Bad for psychology. I don't like senior citizens complexes. They shouldn't exist, in my humble opinion. But that's another matter that requires a whole lot more information to fully appreciate my perspective. Giving homeless people who have lost all hope, who have lost their homes, lost their families, lost their jobs, whatever, lost their fortunes, have almost nothing to live for. Many of them try to commit suicide or drink themselves into oblivion. As fun as that can be, prolonged activities can become problematic. So giving them an animal to tend to. This is your dog. This is your sow. A given pig has 6, 7, 8, 9 years of breeding potential, I think. Depends on the breed as well. Giving a person an animal like that to care for might give them the purpose they need in life to have the desire to grow, which allows them the chance to realize their potential, as every human being has potential. Some exercise that potential more than others, and might be the linchpin, so to speak, to allow someone to blossom into a beautiful flower and move on with their lives and become one with society. Could be the next Mother Teresa, returning the kindness to the world that I hope to show them. It could be a beautiful thing if it works out. There we go. So, it is currently 10 to 4. Fantastic. The Animal Husbandry Department would allow us to also have animal breeding. If we had Irish Dexter cattle, Cashmere goats, Angora rabbits, what have you, the opportunities exist to create our own breeds. Sure, you might find a particularly furry variety of alpine goat, but blending an alpine goat with a particularly stout variety of goat might produce an animal that has more milk potential, or more fur potential. Who knows? I certainly don't. Animal husbandry will involve breeding, as well as involving breeding programs, making sure there's no inbreeding and that kind of thing. I want to make sure that breeding Miss Piggy with Mr. Piggy will produce healthy piggies. Especially if we could produce a crossbreed that has a lot of potential. Maybe if we don't use pesticides and we don't use antibiotics that a lot of farmers use, and we produce an animal that is particularly hearty, that has a particularly low infant mortality rate. We might actually produce a new strain of animal, a new breed, and can stamp that as our own. The animal husbandry members, ministers, volunteers, what have you, will be the industry leaders in that particular vocation. We only need a couple of people in that area. You don't need to monitor every single breeding activity. If you put Mr. Piggy and Miss Piggy in the same stall, eventually you'll have little piggies. Or if you put two rabbits in the same stall, eventually you'll have a whole lot more rabbits. One buck and two doe rabbits, one male, two female, I think produce 320 kilograms, 750 pounds of rabbit meat every year from their offspring alone. Any more females than that, and Mr. Rabbit begins to get tuckered out and could die of exhaustion. So, animal husbandry has the potential to maintain a lot of our industries. As well, we could sell our meat on farmers' markets, trade it for different resources. We could use the animals and breed particular qualities, long hair, short hair, new fibers. We could also use them for labor, or sell the live animals as breeding stock, even offer up our animals for stud. A lot of potential there. Messy, loud, obnoxious business. I will have very little part in it, I should assure you. There's many other things that I'm more interested in, but that's okay. That is animal husbandry. That is part 5 of this series of 8 or 9. I do indeed hope you enjoyed, and I expect that you may enjoy more in the future. Thanks a lot, and take care. I look forward to your questions, comments, and concerns below.